Another guy right in that range, too. This is kind of one of the most interesting tiers of running backs that we're kind of unraveling, unpacking here. You have the Carsons, the James Connors in that 5th round. We also have Raheem Mostert, who's kind of in the opposite trend, where he's been trending upward since everything's happened, and still no one seems to recognize it. Matt Breida's gone now. Trent Williams is in at left tackle, just an absolute mauler who's going to fit this blocking scheme perfectly. He's still going at the end of round 5, sometimes even round 6 in early drafts, Raheem Mostert. So clearly people aren't sold. Do you like him? What are your thoughts on Raheem Mostert for next year?
I think people like him, but the trap we're kind of falling into is like when we have teammates and one of them is a much better value, like Tevin Coleman is here.
Yeah.
For looking at a probable 2-back backfield touches, when Tevin Coleman just balls out in the divisional round, then has like 8 touches the rest of the way, and Mostert balls out in the NFC Championship and then can barely even get the full-time job in the Super Bowl. So Shanahan, we know he can do hot hand, but we also have seen him with Alfred Morris and guys over the years. The guy's not afraid of committing to a single back. We just haven't seen him do it in recent history with San Fran. And losing Breida, it does seem like we're looking at a more condensed backfield. I'm worried about the Jeff Wilson re-signing because we've seen him slide in. And also the Jerick McKinnon murmurs are getting up there.
Yep.
Debo, Ayuk apparently, Jalen Hurd, all these guys can maybe get some rush attempts too. It's an offense with a whole lot of weapons everywhere. I don't mind having exposure to anyone in there. It's a risky pick. Again, I think I take my James Connors. I'd probably even take David Montgomery over Raheem Mostert, I think. But
wow,
yeah, you want to come away with these backs though, because again, in this range, in this tier, like after it gets rough. So even if you can poke some holes in the Raheem Mosterts of the world, I think take him rather than some of these wide receivers going in the same range, just for positional scarcity.
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of like that tier we're discussing. After that tier, maybe ends with that David Montgomery like workhorse role. It's complete crapshoot. There's not really any running backs I want. So even if that means I have like 4-5 running backs and only 2 wide receivers, I'm okay with that in my drafts. Just because the position, it's such a high injury rate and it's so inconsistent that when you can lock in those 3 horses, I'm all about it. And Mostert adding 20 pounds of muscle or something like that, you never know with those. That can kind of swing both ways, right? Maybe he gets a little more sluggish, or maybe it's what allows him to really be featured. But one of my favorite beats, his name's Grant Cohen, and he came on the pod and was like, I'm seeing 15-plus touches maybe this year, the way he's bulked up. I love that guy, and I've always trusted his opinion. So ultimately, if he gets that work, he's just, we see him glide. He's a perfect fit for that zone blocking scheme. The shenanigans, as you pointed out, we've seen it ever since, his dad's always done it. So you never quite know which guy's going to be featured on a week. But if they do commit, that could end up being like, 1,500, ridiculous amount of touchdowns, type of like Aaron Jones season where the guy finally just gets all the work. We can't rule that up, that chance out. So the ceiling is extremely high. I don't think the floor is all that low either. I'm a big Mostert fan at his current price.